Hi, so in our series about African spirituality today, I want to talk about vampire and vampires and give you an African perspective of how we perceive them and what how we deal with them or how we explain or express them. So I've always been very intrigued by the Western version of the vampire, which is typically the person with the big teeth and the cape and the stereotypical really pale person that cannot go under the sun and is always uh, waiting for nighttime to go and feed on other people, and physically feed, meaning that he has to bite your neck, put those two holes, and this relationship between the vampires and bats, which I find really fascinating and interesting. In Africa, however, we perceive vampires to be really a form of energetical perception, meaning that we don't, they are seen to be people that look like you and me. That means that you won't be able to tell whether they will have normal teeth or as anybody else. They won't have anything defining that will stand out physically for you to notice them. However, there are two main elements where we talk about vampirism. The first one is the ability of somebody to be able to feed on your life force, your life energy. To do it, the main two ways is basically when you are asleep and this person is basically coming into your dreams. And if you are sensitive, or most people, you will have some type of nightmare or somebody chasing you or somebody wanting to harm you or somebody harming you in your dream. And the same way as it is going on in the metaphysical world is actually going on for real with the vampire, because that person is actually really sucking that energy from you, really taking that energy away from you. And then it can also happen when you're wide awake, simply like somebody who, for example, could be just by the way of staring at you, could be pulling that life force energy from you. So in African spirituality, vampires are well known. We do understand that some people are born with this ability, and this ability is also transferred from a mother to her child, to her children. Women are well known in that area to have that ability, to be born with the this ability already activated. And this is why sometimes it's really hard for a man whose wife and daughters are vampires if he's not himself from that particular, born with that particular abilities, because they may start feeding on him if they're not able to get enough energy around them. And there's two ways. There are some of them who are actually initiated by their parents in terms of how to use this power for good or for bad. I won't get into that, but some of them are actually initiated to be able to turn it off or to turn it on. And then there are a group of people who don't know, who basically have this power to feed on the energy of others without being conscious, without consciously doing it. So before you jump on and say, it's necessarily something that's negative or that's, diabolic or whatever, you have to understand that some people are not aware that they're doing that. However, as you start maturing or growing up, you will start noticing if this is a case that you don't know whether you're a vampire or not. You can notice it because anytime your energy is kind of starting to be low and you are by yourself, and somebody comes in the room and you feel energized when they're around you, and then when the person is leaving they're feeling tired or whatso on. That could be one way where you are unconsciously feeding on other people's energy. Another part of that is that there's no, for us, at least in my tradition, there's no such thing as association with the sun in terms of these people can walk in bright daylight. There's no any type of escaping or having to fear the sun or being outside during the daytime. However, what we do have as a way to also tell when people are feeding through their dreams is that means the person will go to sleep just like anyone else, but in the dreams, instead of going to the astral realm or wherever they're going, they will go and seek someone else's energy, and they actually feed onto that person. And as they're feeding onto you, they're basically really taking your life force away from you. And then one way that people used to say that it's a way that you can tell if the person is actually a vampire is that if they are sleeping, they're not going to be responding, whether you try to wake them up or anything like that, simply because they're out of their body. They're going wherever they need to go to feed on other people. And so they used to say basically that one way to catch a vampire or to kill a vampire will be to move the body. Because the rule here is that, you know, if you're astral traveling or anything like that, sometimes they will tell you if the vampire is going to feed, it has to get she or he has to get back to his body before the sun rise. So some people would basically move the body. And it wouldn't be as simple as moving the body from one room to another, because the person who's coming back that's the first place they're gonna look for, a different room within the same house. So they used to take the body and hide it somewhere hard for the person to find. And if the sun will rise and the person didn't get back into their body, basically they will die. So that's one perspective, and it's a strong one. So it's like basically, instead of having all of the what you call it, the garlic the garlic and the Christian cross, it was simply, if you're suspecting somebody to be a vampire, you would basically put that trap in terms of attempting to separate them from their body while they're going away to do that. And then, as I say, a lot of things about energy work or energy vampirism, including, is that it's also all of a matter of will and protection. In our tradition, there are a lot of people who are born, as much as you can have the ability to be a vampire and to feed on energy or whatever form and sources, some people can also be born with certain types of protection already activated. So it is said that, you know, some people, if you try to feed on them, it will backfire onto you, and it could even lead to your death. So those are some type of mechanism that are being put in place, depending essentially on your ancestry, depending on a variety of factors, your tribe, depending on, you know, what you've accomplished so far. You may be already versed in the spirit world, you may be already protecting yourself. In Cameroon, a lot of people will use didim and have that handy under their bed. They will have the sakwa as well, so that if you are feeling that somebody's feeding on you at night, you can just wake up really quickly. You take the sakwa, which I showed in a different video, and which is really like a hot pepper, and you will chew it, then you'll spit it back and basically anoint yourself with it. And basically, if that person is attempting to feed on you again, it's like they will be burned by the sakwa that's on you. And then there's different level of other protection that you can hide. You can do that so that the person is kind of being deflected. You can do so that the person is just prevented from taking energy, but not prevented from getting in contact with you. And it can go as far as, if the person attempts, is going to be your protection is going to aim for their death. So there's different levels, and this is why, you know, we don't there's the initiation with a mentor in this area is really secluded, simply because you are playing with your life in some ways. This is also why, like, we wouldn't teach astral travel and all these different things, because if you are somebody who don't know that you're feeling like that, and you are astral traveling, or I wouldn't say even astral traveling, I would just say you are exploring during the dream time, you may be going and feeding on other people, consciously or subconsciously. And you know, if you're not careful yourself on who you're going to feed upon, that thing can backfire as well. So yeah, I just wanted to provide this, you know, it was one of the videos I wanted to make, as I see a lot of videos on vampires, and I just wanted to have that, adding that African perspective to it, that is really about the individual, it's really about energy. It has a physical side to it as well. This is the second part. The first one was all about the energy through feeding on you, through being in close vicinity to someone else, or through dream work. And then the other side is like literally feeding literally feeling energy and having some form of disease or ailment materialize. So someone could be feeding on your blood or your energy, and you will have some type of ailment. That has been seen as well. So the manifestation of the consequences of the person feeding energy, taking in energy from you, could be some diseases, could be some form of ailment that you will go to see a healer for them to identify which one it is actually. And then, so sometimes people will say it's a gift or it's a curse. They're not really sure, depending on what perspective you're taking, because you always have to remember that there's always two sides to a coin. Sometimes some people will even say three. If you take the heads, the tails, and then you take the side of the coin itself, there's about three, and the side is been going all around. So there's a lot of symbolism that we can analyze on that, but just to say that it's not necessarily negative, it could be also positive, in a sense that those people have the ability to basically take energy and also direct it. So one of the reasons why we say that it is not only transferred from one generation to the other is also the fact that you can prolongate someone's life, you can heal somebody because you have the ability of directing that energy. This process is really come naturally, is really easy to do for people who are born with this gift, or who have this gift already awakened. And of course it's not well seen nowadays, because people really misunderstand it. It's really just like the craft. You can use the craft to heal and protect, or you can use the craft to do some negative things. It's really, you know, whoever is using it, how they're using it. It is true that if you're not aware that you're a vampire, or at least from the African tradition, you may be causing a lot of damages around you. Also, for people who are very energy sensitive, you will feel when that person is looking at you, you will really feel the energy being drained. And I've met many people who can actually walk around and just tell who's doing it and who's not. Just simply because sometimes it's as simple as somebody just staring at you and pulling that life force from you. So yeah, that's it. So just let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you've heard or if you've been aware of this particular tradition and this particular perspective on vampires. And of course, if you have questions, let me know and I'll dive into it a little bit deeper.